drew us to the location here was that we stumbled across an acre block, which is pretty hard to come by in the northern beaches. We loved its serenity and the beautiful bushland, the animals that were here. We could really see ourselves setting up home with the family. The favourite part of the house would be probably the connection to the outdoors. We have a lot of windows in this home, so we feel very in touch with nature and what's going around. Being settled in at the same height as the grass and just being able to comfortably move out is amazing. And I think just always seeing the environment change while you're inside, you know, seeing the movement of the bush, seeing the birds moving, seeing what the weather's doing. Like, you know, there's so much that changes through the day and through the seasons. So it's really nice to do that.
Yeah, certainly. I think what Erin was saying about us having this connection with the landscape here was something we were challenged by during the design and construction process, in that we had height controls to deal with, a very steep sloping block amongst a whole bunch of other constraints, and to be able to ultimately pull off a house on such a steep sloping block and have a really generous flat piece of lawn, which, as you can see behind us, terraces its way down to the valley below, was a challenging feat to achieve, but something that we're really proud of. One of our favourite spots, in particular in this time of the afternoon, is sitting on the couch in one of these armchairs and looking across to the northwest as the sun comes through the tree canopy. It almost feels like you're hovering out in the forest, like you're in a treehouse. Trying to capture the sunlight through the winter has been a challenge. Obviously, we're immersed in a very old forest here, and some of the trees are 20 plus metres tall. Which obviously creates a generous amount of shade. So as you can see, we've got the highline windows above the joinery behind us to try and capture as much of that early morning sunlight. As we are on the western side of the slope, the sun does come a little later in the day. It was difficult to design the home to capture as much sunlight, especially with us being in an ecologically sensitive environment where retaining these trees was a huge consideration in the design and planning process.
I think one of the most surprising things to learn about our home is that because we're in a very steep slope and because of we were trying to be very sensitive to the bushland around us, it was about anchoring the home into the earth. So the amount of earthworks that happen to ensure that the house stays solid, the amount of concrete and steel that's gone into it, but then how, I guess, important was to stay really light and floaty above ground, so it didn't seem so obvious.
Yeah, and so one of the bigger challenges that I guess might surprise people in this construction was the volume of earthworks that had to be undertaken and the scar that it left around the landscape, and how relatively quickly that's come back and the greenery has come back and almost started to engulf the property again. Some of the more functional aspects of this home that I'm personally proud of are the great big open sliding doors that give us access to two key different external living areas. We've got the western area, which is perfect for the sunset entertaining, and we've got the northern area, which is great for the kids, particularly during summertime with the slip and slide and paddling pool.
And I think I especially love how incredibly private it is still. I mean, like any property, we have neighbours, but being on a slope and being, I guess, really secluded by the trees, we really feel like it becomes quite an intimate place to be, and you sort of forget that anyone else is around, which is lovely.
Ultimately is that we've utilised Versiclad's roofing product in a manner that's not commonly seen, in that we've put the 200mm or 180mm, I think, panel across a 6.8 metre span, and we've finished it with a custom aluminium tapered flashing and custom gutter detail, which has literally been the icing on the cake. It's been the top of this building, which has been perfectly finished off. The tapered flashing, it makes the roof line look particularly lightweight, and it helps make it almost float with the highline windows around the top story as well.
The way that the roof line sits like a blade on top of the two pavilions that are offset within the bush really just create this beautiful minimalist feeling, and it just sits quite harmoniously in the landscape. Being able to treat the underside of this Versiclad system with these birch ply panels allowed us to bring in a beautiful warmth into the home that reflected the oak flooring, but also allowed for the movement of the roof panels as the temperature rises and falls during the day.
When we finalised the aesthetic for this building, we wanted to make it true to the Aatos brand. We wanted to make sure that we intentionally adopted textures, colours and forms that were both pragmatic and in keeping with the environment. We did not want to build a building that would stand out. We wanted a building that would settle in neatly over a very short amount of time. And with our choices of dark timber vertical cladding, our dark Colourmon skin Versiclad roof, as well as our wood WPC decking, we've got almost maintenance-free finishes across the building that settle in perfectly in terms of colour and texture, and will have a fantastic long life.